Hey there guys, this is your host Richard with another marvelous video. Hello people, Star Wars The Acolyte just dropped its third episode, and it's definitely the best of all three, titled Destiny. The latest episode answers some major questions raised previously, but also heightens the mystery around the new characters. For example, we finally get to know about the titular Acolyte's backstory, but we're left wondering about her mysterious mentor. The introduction of the coven of Brendok witches with Jodie Turner-Smith playing their leader is definitely the high point of the episode. To top it all, there are several Easter eggs in Episode 3 that draw parallels to Anakin Skywalker, aka Star Wars Resident Evil Darth Vader. If you missed a few details or need a few explainers, we've got you covered with this Episode 3 breakdown video. So folks, hold on to your lightsabers because we're about to venture into a galaxy far, far away. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What happened on Brendok 16 years ago? First, here's a brief recap of what transpired in the first two episodes of the Disney Plus show. The storyline is set in the High Republic era, some 100 years before the Star Wars films. The galaxy is at its peaceful best, with the Jedi being at the peak of their powers, thriving on the galactic capital of Coruscant. Peace is disturbed when a young assassin named May starts killing the Jedi across the galaxy. Master Sol begins to investigate the killings, which brings him face to face with his former Padawan Osha. It's learned that May is Osha's twin sister, who was believed to be dead in a fire that destroyed Osha and May's entire family on the planet of Brendok some 16 years ago. The first two episodes left us scratching our heads about how the sisters got separated on Brendok, and why is May suddenly operating with a murderous vendetta against the Jedi. And that's where the latest episode comes in handy. Here's a lowdown on the storyline. The episode begins with a breathtaking view of Osha and May's homeworld, Brendok, a planet which has been referenced in the past, but shown for the first time now. The entire episode is set in flashback from 16 years ago, when Osha and May were just 8 years old. They were being brought up by a mysterious coven of Brendok witches, headed by Mother Aniseya, with Mother Coral as her second-in-command. This coven has a very different interpretation of the Force and believes that it's not a power to be wielded by individual beings, but a shared energy, the power of many. When we first meet Osha and May, they're hanging out by a bunta tree, which is native to the planet, and toying with their powers. They were soon reprimanded by Mother Coral for venturing out of the fortress and loitering around deep into the forest, expressing fear that the Jedi Knights might find them. Once brought back into the coven fortress, Mother Aniseya engages them in a training session and prepares them for their ascension ceremony that evening. While May is clearly excited about her ascension as a witch, Osha seems deeply disinterested about joining the coven. During the ascension, Mother Aniseya summons the power of the many and initiates May into the coven with a mystical ritual, which gives her a silver spiral mark on the forehead, borne by all the other adult witches. Just when Osha's ritual is about to begin, a bunch of Jedi Knights infiltrate the fortress and interrupt the ceremony. These Jedi are the ones we met in the first two episodes, Master Indara and her Padawan Torbin, Master Sol, and the Wookiee Jedi Kelnaka. In the previous episodes, which are set 16 years ahead of the events of Episode 3, we learn that these four Jedi are on May's hit list, and she manages to murder Indara and Torbin, fails to assassinate Sol, and begins the hunt for Kelnaka. Now, we're about to learn what happened all those years ago on Brendok that turned May into a Jedi-killing assassin. So, the Jedi Knights crash Osha's ascension ceremony and interrogate the Coven witches about their rituals. The Jedi seem to have been tracking their moves on Brendok and express concern over the Coven's decision to train young kids in dark magic. The Jedi attempt to impose the laws of the High Republic on the Coven witches, but Mother Aniseya snaps back saying that Brendok is not part of the Republic, and hence the laws do not apply here. More so because all this while the Jedi thought that this planet was uninhabited. The Coven tries to hide the twins, but an inquisitive Osha fidgets too much, and the Wookiee Kelnaka spots her, alerting the other Jedi about the twins. When the kids are summoned by the Jedi, Osha takes an instant liking toward the Jedi, but May displays a more defiant attitude. The Jedi have a reputation for training young kids of all species to be future warriors, and separating them from their families. Fearing that the twins will be taken away, Mother Aniseya tortures Torbin by hacking into his mind, and asks the Jedi to leave them alone in exchange for his sanity. This is when Master Indara reminds Mother Aniseya that the Jedi have the right to test potential Padawans, and the kids are invited to a test at the Jedi spaceship the following day. As the Jedi leave, Mother Aniseya holds a meeting with her Council of Advisors, where the Elder Nasa advises that the twins must deliberately lose in the test. That way, the kids would remain with the Coven and grow grow up with the Coven's ideals, while the Jedi would be forced to leave them alone for now. During the test the following day, May intentionally delivers a poor performance and doesn't get selected to be a Padawan. But Osha is clearly mesmerized by the Jedi ways, and when she tries to sabotage the test, Master Saul sees through her lies. When he prods her about the truth, Osha reveals that she's been instructed to fail the test, whereas in her heart, she really wants to be a Jedi. Osha clearly qualifies to become a youngling in the Jedi Order, and her decision shatters May and the other Coven members. However, Mother Aniseya accepts Osha's choice and allows her to leave with the Jedi. But an infuriated May threatens to stop Osha at all costs, even if that means killing her. May locks up Osha in a room, and right outside the doors, she sets fire to Osha's journal. In the next few scenes, the fire grows bigger and engulfs the entire fortress, suffocating Mother Aniseya and her council, who were all gathered in the meeting room. Osha somehow manages to escape through a tunnel and comes face to face with May, who declares Mother Aniseya is dead. As they both try to reunite through the raging fire, May falls into the fiery chasm of the fortress while Osha is saved by Master Saul. He carries Osha out of the collapsing fortress, past the bodies of the fallen witches, and the next time Osha opens her eyes, she finds herself on board the Jedi spaceship, which is already on its way to Coruscant. Master Saul informs a sobbing Osha that there's nothing left of the Coven anymore, and that she can be his Padawan if she chooses to. While Osha breaks down crying on the spaceship, the scene shifts to Brendok, where May is seen looking for her sister. Why May is killing the Jedi in the current timeline of the show. An 8-year-old May who survived the mishap couldn't find her sister in the wreckage on Brendok and grew up believing that her sister was dead, and she blamed the Jedi for the massacre. Blinded by grief and hatred, May believed it was the Jedi who interfered with their peaceful lives in the Coven, and it was the Jedi who lured her sister into leaving the Coven, which ultimately led to her outburst and the fire massacre that supposedly killed her sister. Hence, 16 years later, May seeks revenge on the 4 Jedi, namely Sol, Indara, Torbin, and Kelnaka, who arrived on Brendok to disrupt the Coven's way of life and separated her from her sister. This explains why May trains to be an assassin and sets out to kill the Jedi 16 years later. Interestingly, deep down, the 4 Jedi also believed that it was their arrival on Brendok that led to the disaster, and they blamed themselves for not being able to save the Coven, except for Osha. This is precisely why, when May arrives to kill Master Torbin in the second episode, she was able to guilt-trip him into taking his own life. A few years after the massacre on Brendok, Master Torbin took the Badash vow as a form of penitence, and when May offered him absolution in the form of the Bunta poison, he accepted it to pay for his past sins. May was not so kind to Master Indara and killed her with a dagger right at the beginning of the show. May also engaged in a clash with Master Saul on the planet Olega, but defeated, she escaped the scene, determined to return with renewed vengeance. May is currently on her way to the planet Kofar to kill Kelnaka, who's been leading a solitary life, haunted by what happened on Brendok 16 years ago. Explaining Osha and May's contrasting characters. In our previous video, we mentioned that the characters of Osha and May were based on the yin and yang concept. While one taps into the light side of the Force, the other gets her powers from dark energy. And the third episode makes it all the more apparent. From the very beginning of the episode, it's revealed that the twins can tap into the Force. And while May would do childishly wicked stuff with her power, Osha turns out to be the softer one. Even during their training session in the Coven, when Mother Aniseya launches her powers at them, Osha quickly hides behind May, who's able to hold off Mother Aniseya's powers. Throughout the episode, May is excited about the Ascension ceremony and her promotion into a Coven witch, whereas Osha clearly wants to leave the Coven and explore other parts of the galaxy with the Jedi. At one point even, Osha blurts out to May that, "I want to have my own things. I don't want to do everything together because we are not the same." Much later into the episode, it's revealed that Osha and May never had a father and were mysteriously created by Mother Aniseya and brought into this world by Mother Coral, thus making Aniseya and Coral the parents of the twins. And Mother Aniseya explains that it's not unusual for twin sisters to take different paths in life, highlighting the fact that while May is dedicated to the Coven's ideals, Osha wants nothing to do with it and desires to become a Jedi. These contrasting beliefs transform May into a dark character and Osha into a Jedi warrior. Another interesting detail shown in the episode is that Osha was drawing Jedi symbols and lightsabers in a diary long before the Jedi even infiltrated the fortress, and it can be theorized that Osha was perhaps experiencing visions of the future, which only highlights the extent of her connection with the Force. The difference in the Coven and the Jedi's interpretation of the Force. This brings us to a crucial debate set up by the third episode, the Force versus the Thread. The Force is a metaphysical energy realm in the Star Wars universe, created by the very existence of life across the galaxy. The Jedi get the powers by tapping into the Force, but the Coven believes that the Force is not for someone to possess, but rather something that becomes stronger when shared. While training Osha and May, Mother Aniseya explains the Coven's interpretation of the Force. It's like a thread that runs through all of existence. The Jedi call it the Force, Force and wield it to use it. But for the Coven, it's not a power that can be owned. It's the link that binds a Coven witch to other forms of existence and leads them to their destiny. The Coven's connection with the thread is what grants them the power of one, power of two, and the power of many. That is, all forms of existence. This difference in their ideal is what makes the Coven witches distrusting of the Jedi, and that's the reason they want to keep their young ones away from getting recruited by the Jedi. Who are the Coven witches? The Coven mothers are a mystical group of witches who have incredibly special powers, albeit with a dark twist. Mother Aniseya reveals that they were exiled from their original homeworld and perceived as dangerous because of the powers they possess. They were hunted, persecuted, and forced to flee because their powers were considered as dark and unnatural. The Coven was at the brink of extinction when Mother Aniseya managed to create life in the form of the twin sisters and plant them in Mother Coral, who brought them into the world. Abandoned by others in the galaxy, the Coven witches sought refuge in the secluded planet of Brendok, which was believed to be completely uninhabited. Since then, they've been living inside the fortress premises on Brendok to avoid getting detected by those who cast them out once. Mother Aniseya says the ascension ceremony of the twins is the first time that the Coven is welcoming new witches ever since their exile. This galactic exile of the Coven witches kinda likens them to the Nightsisters of Dathomir from Star Wars lore, set 100 years ahead of the Acolyte, because the Nightsisters too have a history of being isolated on the extragalactic planet of Peridir. The Nightsisters are a coven of ancient witches led by Mother Talzin from Dathomir, a planet rooted in dark powers. Mother Talzin also worked with Sith Lord Darth Sidious for a while, but was eventually betrayed by him. The Nightsisters played a crucial role in the animated TV series The Clone Wars, and also featured more recently in the live-action show, Ahsoka. These dark witches too dislike the Jedi, just like the Brendok witches from Acolyte. The Nightsisters were also seen fighting with bows and arrows when their coven on Dathomir was being slaughtered in the events of the Clone Wars. Quite similarly, when the Jedi infiltrated Mother Aniseya's fortress, the warrior witches were seen wielding bows and arrows. Moreover, the Nightsisters were not guided by either the dark power of the Sith or by the ideals of the Jedi, which is just the case with Mother Aniseya's coven, who only prioritized the beliefs of their own matriarchal society. And these similarities, though separated by 100 years, makes us wonder if there's a secret connection between these two cults. Exploring the many references to Anakin Skywalker. Now, let's talk about how the third episode foreshadows Anakin Skywalker's arrival in the Star Wars future. The most significant sign of them all is that May and Osha don't have a father, just like Anakin Skywalker didn't. He was miraculously conceived through the Force, as revealed in 1999's The Phantom Menace, just as Mother Aniseya describes the birth of Osha and May as a miracle that saved the Coven from extinction. Furthermore, Mother Aniseya's ability to create life reminds one of the paranoid Sith Lord Darth Plagueis, who had the ability to fool death and create life. In the 2005 movie Revenge of the Sith, this Sith Lord is mentioned to Anakin Skywalker when Darth Sidious was trying to lure him to the dark side of the Force. For those who need a refresher, Anakin goes on to become Darth Vader, the iconic villain of the Star Wars franchise. Another tiny detail that references Anakin Skywalker is that when the Aniseya sisters show up for the Jedi tests, Torbin collects blood samples from them as the first step. This is presumably to diagnose the midi-chlorian count of the young ones, the same reason why Qui-Gon Jinn took a blood sample of Anakin after chancing upon him on the desert planet of Tatooine. Furthermore, Osha was put through a similar test of guessing the objects seen on a screen by the Jedi, just like Anakin was by the Jedi Council in The Phantom Menace. Eagle-eyed fans have also noticed that Osha has the same concern that Anakin will have 100 years into the future. While leaving the Coven to join the Jedi, Osha asks Mother Aniseya these words, "Will I ever see you again?" This is exactly the question Anakin asks his mother Shmi Skywalker while leaving to join the Jedi, highlighting the sacrifice it takes to become a Force warrior. Marvelous verdict. So far in The Acolyte, it's been said that the fire massacre on Brendok wiped out the entire coven of witches, but the third episode leaves some room for some speculation. When Sol was escaping the burning fortress with Osha, Mother Aniseya and the other witches were seen lying on the floor, presumed dead from the fire breakout. But if we look closely, there were no visible signs of them getting burnt. In fact, Osha didn't even get a chance to say a final goodbye to her supposedly dead mother. Considering the fact that May managed to survive the fire, there remains this possibility that May went back to revive Mother Aniseya, and owing to her hatred against the Jedi for losing Osha and her entire coven, Mother Aniseya becomes the ruthless villain of the Acolyte, May's dark mentor. However, the mysterious masked figure who appears at the end of the first episode has a distorted masculine voice, which contradicts the fact that it can be Mother Aniseya. Maybe the Acolyte will introduce a brand new villain to the Star Wars lore, and we can't imagine anything more blood-curdling than that. What do you think of these theories, folks? Please don't hesitate to type away in the comment section below. We'll be back with more Acolyte-related content, but till then, let's brainstorm about this masked Acolyte villain together. Do let us know if you come up with a discovery, and may the Force be with you. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.